Are there any apologies for absence other than Councillor McKenzie? No. Declarations of interest? Interested? Nope. Members, the next item is the minutes of the meeting of the 20th of November. They've already been approved by the council and they're really just there for noting. Okay, the Highland Council work programme.
Thanks, convener. So I'll just give a quick summary of the key points of the report. So just a reminder that the last redesign board, there were decisions made around different reporting routes for certain projects. So projects that are being reported here at the moment are My Council, Lived in Schools, and the Roads Redesign. So we have a later item on the agenda about the closure of phase 1 of the Roads Redesign. But I'm expecting to the next meeting of this board will be a report on the scope of phase 2 of the Roads Redesign, and also looking at the scope of a communities review, which there's a bit of overlap with the road side of things. So Malcolm Cloud is keen to bring two of them together, certainly for the next redesign board for those. The focus of the key focus of the report here is around My Council. There is a section on food in schools. It is actually giving the same report that was at Corporate Resources Committee this morning. But, it's here as well. So looking at the My Council programme, so this is a reminder, it's split into 3 projects. So a project which is covering customer contact strategy, and that strategy was approved back in October. We're now in a phase of delivering that strategy and embedding it within the council. So engagement with service teams is underway. Next project is we used to use the term end-to-end customer journeys. We're now calling it My Highland. So My Highland is looking at the transactional side of what happens online on our website. So this is about accessing personalized services, includes account, so that you'll be able to see information which is specific to yourself and services specific to yourself. So that is going to focus on online council tax portal as the first deliverable, and a number of core components as part of that around security of the system and how it would operate, which can then be used to deliver other services. And then the third project is around customer contact methods. So part of that was the introduction of a new telephony system. So that's now complete. The focus is now on the redesign of the website, and members will be aware we've had a workshop here looking at the website. Had feedback from yourselves, we've had feedback from the public, feedback from our officers, and we've also done a lot of research looking at what other councils have done as practice. All of that is fed into we're in a final stage now of agreeing what design will be with our supplier Jadu. Now, just highlighting that the project is showing that the website of the project is showing as red at the moment, and that's for taking a cautious approach because we didn't have a definite commitment from our team and from the supplier Jadu that we could deliver to the timescale. So that we're aiming for a September timescale for go live for the new website. I would say is that there's been substantial work over the last couple of weeks. Very good meeting with the supplier yesterday. We are hoping that by the end of next week we'll have an absolute clear agreed plan with them to deliver. Still aiming for that September date, but equally we need to be realistic about what they can deliver. So potentially it might slip a bit past there, but we're looking for that confirmation from them. We're still very much aiming for that and aiming for a quick turnaround of anything that sits the responsibility for our team. So we have taken on additional 2 members of staff within that project who will be working with services now to date on their web pages. Not just about redesigning the look and feel of the site, it's also making sure we've got up-to-date content. So that work is now kicking off as well, with the idea as that all comes together so that we go live with a new website that has modern look and feel, works well, that you can find things, and has up-to-date content. So, so I can take any questions on that, but equally, Alison, who's the senior responsible officer for that program.
Any points, questions, Trish?
Yeah, on the update of the website, it's well noted that a lot of the information on the present website is out of date. So you'll be transferring, I would assume, the data over. So are we going to have that put in order before that happens, or are we going to transfer the incorrect information?
So absolutely, it's a really good point. And we've been looking at what the best approach to that. Analysis has shown that actually 70%, I can't remember the exact number, I think 75% of the traffic is on a very small number of pages. So the focus is going to be based on pages that get the most hits. So we're very confident we'll be able to fix all of those. The new website will go live with updated content from those pages. We've identified a significant number of pages in the thousands which haven't had any traffic at all for a long time.
But the contact information will be going over as well, and that's what's out of date.
So there'll be
numbers are unobtainable.
Yeah, there'll be a review of all of the pages. We're going to focus on the most popular ones to start with, get them fixed, and then time. So the focus will be on the pages which receive by far the most hits.
I would imagine it's a fair sized job, Trish. Andrew.
Thinking forward, the information on the other 25% that we, or that 70 that we get all the time, changes all the time, changes constantly. Will we be able to change that in house, or will always have to go to the designer and developer to do that?
No, again, that's a very good question. We've got 3 work strands in the project. One is about redesigning the structure of the website. One is around updating the content, and the third one is about making sure we've got the right processes and skills in place to ensure that it's continuously updated and continuously improved. So the idea is that will be something we will be self-sufficient in, and that we will have the right people identified responsible for the content so that they can keep it up to date.
Miriam?
Thank you. There's obviously an awful lot of data, but is there not a reputational risk for transferring data over that is out of date and not current? Are we not better to try, if you can tell I'm a bit of a Luddite for those of you that know me, but are we not better just to transfer the sections that are current, relevant and correct, and then work on making sure that everything is migrated over is correct and current? Because the one thing you can imagine people will pick up on is that something's been on that site that is 3 years out of date.
Yeah, so sorry, I maybe didn't explain that a bit correctly. So no, the intention would only be to go live with pages which are up to date.
Okay.
And I say we'll be taking across and making sure pages are correct for the vast majority of the pages that people access. We would then deal with other pages.
So it's a stage migration as opposed.
That's the current plan. Yeah. Now is that if that happens quicker, then we go live with more pages. But no, the intention is not to go live in a new website with pages which are clearly out of date.
That's great, thank you.
Jackie?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to back up what John was saying about taking it slowly, because this is such a huge thing, website, and we have to be so careful that we've got the cybersecurity, in place, because so many local authorities have been hacked by terrible problems. And if we're going to have My Highland on there where people are paying the council tax, fines, it's a huge thing. So it's really important that we get it right. So we shouldn't rush it. So we're going to take it stage by stage. So I think that's.
David?
I hear what folks are saying about, taking our time and getting it right, but can we chart some sort of time frame? That would be good for future, to have some sort of concentration on that and some feedback, and to understand just how long would it take even to get it right, but to also deliver it.
He loves a chart, Sean, so.
Line charts and graphs and anything that's in pictures.
I would suggest after we've got the final plan agreed with Jasmine next week, that we'll be in a position to actually do that exactly. This will be.
John?
Will it include a definitive contact list so that we can find people that we're looking for?
So this fits in with the customer engagement strategy. I am going to see if Alison wants to come in at this point.
Right. Alison, you're going to do from there, you need to bellow because the sound doesn't pick up that one.
I'll come lurk so that those on screen can hear me. So from a member perspective, we have key routes for the public to access information, and we've got our contact routes on the website that we currently have. So if people have the pay report request, that's for the public to access. There's separate information and contact details for members to access. I think we discussed this at the last redesign board workshop as well. Recognise that there's probably a need for a bit of an update. So as part of the member training sessions that are happening in April, there's going to be a specific session on looking at where that information is online for members, where the CRM contacts are for members in there as well. So we're going to cover that off at the member training sessions specifically for yourselves. And if I may, convener, just one point, I think John's made it as well, but just to reassure members that services at the moment are actually reviewing all of the content, all of their own content on their website. So they've got eyes on that. I know from my own teams, they're already seeing some of the pages that you would identify that are potentially out of date. Do we need that information anymore? We don't need it anymore. We won't be migrating that information over. It's the core information that we want. We want a really slick and customer focused website going forward. So just to reassure members, it will be important to take time to get that right. And it's not just about the migrating of information, it's about the customer journey on that website. I'm sure I know that you've all mentioned this before when we've had workshops about the number of clicks often to get information on the website. So it's part of that process, and the content editors that John spoke about, they'll be working with the service teams to make sure that we get that journey right, so that what we do publish is in the right frame for members and the public.
Okay. Members here just asked to note that. Oh, John, sorry.
One question, but it's not about the website. So
Not interesting. As long as it's about item 4.
right, okay, yeah. You've said in the report that project 3, you're going to have to ask for additional funding for it to be completed, but you've actually put on the report that it's on track. So, and you're also saying that the project in total is going to have a £70,000 underspend. So how much are you going to need of that 70,000, and how much additional are you going to need to project 3 to be completed?
So I don't think it's definite yet whether we need additional funding for that. It will require resource from our team. I think we still need a bit of work to do to understand how much resource and whether it's something that be done with the existing core team. Technology costs for this are hoped to be relatively low, and this is more about effort. So we don't have a clear position on what the costs timescale for that is that so we are currently going through that planning exercise for that stage for Project 3. I can't give a definite answer about what that will cost and how it will take at the moment, although we are aiming for a 12 to 18 month scale. If more funding is required, then we'll need to go through identify where that would come from.
We should know that later in the financial year, though, so it shouldn't be sprung on us. So
Yeah.
members are asked to note item 4. Just one thing from me, John. There are a number of items that either are with the redesign board or have originated with the redesign board. Just for example, asset rationalisation. I think we would really like to see some progress, and I'm not convinced that progress has been particularly rapid. We had initial burst with moving out the townhouse, etc., etc. It's not that much else, so I think that needs to move forward at pace. And there are one or two others that will pick up with you offline. Okay, so can we get item 4? Item 5 is the roads redesign phase 1 closure report.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you can hear me okay. You've got a paper in front of you that is detailing the work that's been done as part of roads redesign, and this is a closure report for you, which is running through some of the key aspects of the project, but also looking forward to where we go next. There are a few slides there for you to view should you wish, so I'll just briefly go through those. Phase 1 of the roads redesign project was initiated in September 2022. The initial priorities identified were to undertake several lean reviews, and these were focused on where the public interacts most with the road service. And the other key aspect of roads redesign phase 1 was to hold member workshops to review the prioritisation for roads investment. So sitting alongside that activity, there was also investment in pothole-prone vehicles, the development of a dedicated in-house road marking team, and there's also been successful trialling of the infrared road repair technology, which is a thermal repair process for roads. The project was funded from the roads revenue budget. A project manager was in place and there were 3 other support staff. Most of the staff that were involved in phase 1 were appointed on temporary contracts, and most have now moved on. Either they've returned to their substantive posts or they've secured alternative permanent posts within the council. So just going into a little bit of detail about the lean reviews for you. The lean reviews that were carried out covered the following processes, and I'm sure most of you have had some involvement with the public over these. Those were compensation claims, road permit applications, temporary traffic orders and permanent traffic orders. So the idea of the lean reviews was obviously to make sure that the processes were swifter, more easy to access, and that communications were improved. There was also a review of the Sconset quarry operations, and that produced 2 key recommendations, which were primarily about improving the storage and reducing the number of empty HGV vehicles that were required when we haul the materials to various sites. In terms of the 2 member workshops on roads investment, the first one was focused on the revenue road budget and the second was on the capital budget. A third workshop to discuss risk-based approach development was proposed, but owing to the reduction in staffing resources, that workshop has still to take place. So moving on to what's proposed for phase 2 of the roads redesign, in addition to that 3rd member workshop,
which will take place. It's also proposed that a number of activities will also be undertaken. The first one is the TVI automated roads monitoring, which is something that we're all really quite excited about. And this is technology which is in connection with placing cameras on bin lorries and other council fleet vehicles, whereby 80 to 90% of roads can be automatically monitored and recorded each week to identify potholes, including the depth of the potholes and other surface defects. Now, the advantages of that are believed to be that there'll be a reduction in the number of on-site inspections required, so that will save time and money and travel costs. There'll be increased information available to council staff to make sure that we have a more effective response to customer enquiries, and it will enable us to shift more from a reactive maintenance approach to rectifying defects to a more planned maintenance approach, because we'll have much improved and more up-to-date information about the condition of the road network. The second area that we will be looking at as part of phase 2 is route optimization. And the introduction of this technology will be to help us make sure that we've got the most efficient route possible for winter gritting and snow clearing activities. And again, the advantages of this are perceived to be a reduced operating cost in terms of materials and fuel, and also improved customer satisfaction. There's already similar technology in place for waste operations, so we hope that we will be able to gain some recommendations from what's been introduced there as well. And one of the third key areas of work identified for phase 2 is to look at digitising our manual processes, in particular job cards. At the moment, the way that we cost works undertaken in roads is via job cards, which the operators have to complete, and it's very much a paper-based approach. That then goes to business support, who make sure it's coded to the right budget, and then eventually it goes through onto our finance-based systems. Now, that all really is outdated, and we know that there is technology in place that should help to improve that. And again, that should help us in terms of having to focus less on process and more on getting the job done. So the resources for roads redesign phase 2, I'm pleased to say, most of the recruitment has been undertaken. Again, it's being funded through the roads revenue budget, and we hope that the new team will be in place by April 2025, next month, so that we can get cracking on phase 2. But the key recommendation for you for today is hopefully to agree that we can sign off on phase 1, and then we can move on to phase 2. But I'm happy to take any questions that any members may have. Thank you.
Yeah, it's taken a while getting this phase 1 over the line. It's been long. It's been actually quite a laborious job, but it was necessary. The amount of documents that members have had to, along with the working group, have had to trawl through and have had to assess and scrutinise and, in some cases, rewrite. And we brought them all up to date. And if we sign off today, well, I'm hoping that we do. We're at that stage now. That will have been a huge amount of work, but it's not for me, it's not the stuff that actually sees the practical changes that we're wanting, but it was necessary to underpin the work that we're now going to do. Well, I am hoping that given the fact that when you saw that on there, if you actually look back, and it was 2022 when we kicked this off, that's 3 years ago. I'm hoping that we can now see the pace going into the next phase. Just going to mention some of the things that we know that we have covered off in the workshops between revenue and capital, because it is topics that are closest to members' hearts when we get out onto the roads. And I know that Trish was pushing this long before my time as well, and that's everything from the use of pothole pros and the maximising and the efficiency of the machinery that we have at council, identifying the gaps that we might have and actually understanding how we can fill those gaps. Utilising, you've seen it there just now in terms of the infrared patching and how we can employ that, which takes us to the quality of the work that we see being undertaken, that we are often challenged by the public. How long will that last? Do we, especially if a third party is opening up a road and utilities, and do we go back and have a look at it, and how long are they held accountable for it? We've got policies now that are in place that we can base that work on. The efficiency of the work. It's not knowing that there is a difference between operational, but there is an expectancy that we as members and the public are looking for the efficient works being undertaken. That's not for 4 persons to be standing over our workers with whips, but it is to dispense with the perception with the public in terms of how many shovels can workers start. It's all historic stuff. We want ourselves to be seen to be a really good supportive council in terms of protecting our workers. So I've seen that more and more they're naming them in the local press. But detailing the list of the capital works, because there's differences. The workshops, we're covering those off, and we'll look at that again in terms of identifying what those capital works would look like, and that they are equally addressed in each of the areas rather than different approaches that currently exist. And to have regular discussions about how we review them and change them, because you know yourself, Tracy, that has been looked at by the audit committee. Trish knows sometimes we get ahead of ourselves and land up causing ourselves problems because we're trying to do things flexibly and fluidly, but then fall foul of an audit process, white lining, and moving from recovery to a planned maintenance, being you've seen that, I think it's in your papers, yeah. Being less reactive and more proactive, and how we have improve our updating of the reporting system from the public, to then getting back to them and showing them that we've actually reacted to what they've actually been letting us know about. Auditing and reviewing the third party works that I was saying there just now over a period of time. We just don't, at this moment in time, we don't really do that as a planned activity. And then the focus on balancing the amount of money that we're now putting to capital works. Every roads operations manager I know of has mentioned in every single area that you're from, with the increase in monies that they have, in terms of the resourcing that they've got and the ability to be able to deliver on that, but not just for 1 year, but for all the years that hopefully they will have that increased amount available to them, in whichever form it is, according to whatever new distribution formula we come up with. That just gives you a flavour of what we can now build on after phase 1. So there's a lot of stuff there. I really hope that we can actually move at this with a bit more pace than phase 1 was delivered at, because it was a rather laborious task. Kate?
Thanks, Tracy. And Leader mentioned, we're all excited about this live mapping. I'm thinking in terms of Central Inverness, where potholes are almost top of my list every day. But are we at risk of having to pay out more compensation claims because we don't have deniability through people saying, well, there's a pothole there, and at the moment, if it hasn't been reported, then there's no claim. Whereas if it's all going to be mapped carefully and recorded, there would be no deniability of us knowing about our potholes in the future.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, and it's one that we did talk through quite carefully when we looked at the new technology. But we've been assured that actually, as long as you follow your process that you have in terms of dealing with compensation claims, then it should not in itself lead to more claims being made, because ultimately what you're hoping to do is to be in a better position to make sure that you get out to them and repair them quickly before they arrive. But also when the reports come in, if we've got really up-to-date intelligence about the condition of the road network, we can either quickly agree or disagree that the claim is a valid claim. So there was a concern expressed around that, but we feel that it's manageable as long as we've got a very robust policy and we actually do what we're proposing to do, which is to get ahead of the game more. So that's the intention behind this, but it's a very valid point, and thanks for raising that.
What about bridges? Are those included in the roads that you're talking about, or is that a separate entity?
No, roads is part of the, bridges are part of the road network.
Right.
So yes, all the investment and the redesign work that we're doing will be taking into account the structures that we have, as well as the road network itself. And indeed, Councillor Bremner and I have had a few discussions about making sure that it's not all about necessarily just the tarmac on the road. You know, you've got to look at everything that the council's responsible for, the culverts, the signage, and all, and as you say, you know, the bridges as well, and footpaths, that's all part of this. Yes, definitely.
Good, thank you.
Michael?
Yeah, thanks. We've touched on it with a proactive approach, Tracy. Let's just raise the spectre of what's been raised down in England is with artificial intelligence and is using to predict where the potholes are going to arise. Now, in a general concept, AI will have access to specific roads, every road, the historical climatic records of what conditions we experience, the investment that's gone into that road, the levels of traffic, all the information is there. I don't know how you take it from that, as always, to the next stage forward. But they're talking about it, and they're actually, as far as I'm aware, looking at it very seriously down in England in certain councils. And if you would think about it for maybe phase 2, all the information's out there and actually predicting where these problems are going to arise. Yes, mapping them is helping, but predicting where it is, because it has the sum of all this knowledge. So it's just to put on record, maybe have a look at what's happening elsewhere.
Sounds even more scary, that, doesn't it? To be honest with you. Yeah. Okay.
All right, Michael, they're going to replace all 74 of us with AI generated robots.
Just the 73 in you, Bill.
You guys?
Yeah, just wondered about the white line being now that it's in-house, if there was capacity in there to do some driving tracks. Because I did notice that when Port Burge Fair lining was done. Right.
There is a hope that when we get on top of what needs to be done, then that might be something that we're able to look at. Absolutely. But at the moment, we've got, you know, quite a lot to do. But yeah, hopefully going forward, that can be considered, certainly.
You okay?
Yeah, that means that we need to move considerably down the road from the last time that we were actually sitting around the roads redesign table when we were getting updates. Remember, of by the time that we do the white lining, that we've actually managed to give ourselves the headache off because of the amount of new road surfaces and junctions that we've got. It would take us 6 years, and where would we be in 6 years' time? So that's the kind of, you and I were on that page when we were actually talking about it. But I would hope that some of the things that we've covered off there just now, before we even get into the workshop environment, a lot of progress will already have been made, reflecting some of the contributions from members over the previous 2 workshops, because they were they were very informative, but we did feel that there were more workshops that were going to have to happen to be able to get right in about the nitty gritty of it, and that I've just listed a whole load of the stuff that will be high up on members' agendas. Going back to the point that John was making there, the information and the distribution of that information and the quality of that information, where you can see in every area the division of the allocated spend for culverts, for bridges, for structures, for winter maintenance, for surface dressing, for road resurfacing. it is there at the moment, but it is being and will be challenged by the roads redesign in phase 2 as to whether that is actually fit for purpose. So that's all in the cards.
Thanks, Ren.
Andrew?
When do you expect to finish changing over from the parchment ink and quill in job card system that you have now to one that's at least 20th century? I'm just amazed it's taken us this long to move from that paper system to a computerized system. Even the RB has got to one. I mean, we're not far behind.
You look at the amount of paper we keep printing, some of us still love paper.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Still got his slate and chalk in the drawer.
It's still a genuine question. How long do you think that will take to?
Just a guesstimate, Tracy.
A guesstimate. I mean, I'm happy to bring further reports back when we get more into the detail of it. I think the first thing is obviously to do a bit of a process mapping exercise, just to make sure that we know where it starts and where it finishes, and how do we need to join it all up. But once we've got that in place, it'll then be identifying what is the technology that we need, and then the implementation of that. So it'll be done in a very phased approach. But I'd like to think that we make some good progress within the next 12 months. To be honest, I'm hoping it's not going to take forever for us to do that, because we believe that it's already out there. We're just a bit
I
behind.
think most of the technology is available in its second and third generation, but 12 months progress is almost supersonic for a local authority, so I wish you well with it.
I think the main potential issue is just making sure that whatever product we get, it can interface correctly with the council's financing system. That tends to be the tricky bit, but hopefully John and his team will be able to help us with that when we get to that stage.
I really do think that would be part of the process, though, part of the redesign process, because you have to map the information that is provided with the technology, then has to be absorbed into the whole distribution program, reporting program, exactly what I was talking about there just now. And I would expect that the whole phasing, the time phasing of that would actually be part of the roads review. So it'll become clearer as the roads review continues into the next phase.
Duncan?
Yeah, it's just curious to know how this is going to fit in with contractors. So presumably we know a lot of where the potholes are just now, but the benefit of looking in advance is knowing, we might think there's a pothole here, but actually once we map it, we find that there's one closer to the end of the table. So if we knew that, rather than us bring all the equipment back twice, we can do the two together. So you'll have a good idea of what is out there just now. How are we shaping up in terms of contractors, in-house to do it? I'm very conscious that John Taylor used to tell us all the 23 Inverness and area councillors to the far end of Loch Ness and back, that he could spend his entire budget that we'd allocated him for a year in 2 weeks replacing Milburn Road, resurfacing Milburn Road. And his biggest job was actually to make his lads look busy and spread out the work in little drops to spread it over 52 weeks, because you've given me so little money to do anything with. So we've gone a complete change to suddenly we've given you a wheelbarrow full of money, and we've got a workforce that's been working towards that, because every year less and less and less money. So make the boys look busy and go out and do some work here. How does that fit in with where we are now to delivering? Because it must be costing us a lot of money in claims, or either there's a lot of frustrated constituents out there who've got claims but or have a valid, I've got a puncture, I've damaged my car or wheel, and you're not paying me, and us fixing them. Are we reactive, or what is our programme, and how can we build it in with the Patman Roads and other construction companies that can come out and cut and fit it, and one day later that road section's done? Because I just fear that we're going to be here in a year's time and we're looking at charts and graphs and saying we've made a little bit of progress, but every time we go to a community council, every time we get stopped anywhere in our life, at church, at going to buy shopping, did you know about this pothole? Yeah. Did you know about that pothole? So they all know where the potholes are. We all know where the potholes are. Your roads team know where the potholes are, but getting somebody to actually fix them seems to be the issue. How is this going to address that issue?
There's one point, Duncan. We do not send our guys out just to look busy.
Yeah.
That's, you take that on board. There is no policy that says that we just send our guys out to make them look busy. That's not the case. Tracy?
Yeah. I think it's important to emphasise that the in-house teams that we have, they do work exceptionally hard. They do capital works, they do patch repair works, they do pothole repairs, they do the winter maintenance activity, they do drainage works. So it's not all about necessarily, doing potholes. There's a range of activities that the guys do that are out there. But I think it's fair to say, we're on a bit of a journey. There has been significant underinvestment in roads over a period of time, but we're now in a position where we've got much improved levels of investment, which is fantastic. We've also invested in new technology, which I described earlier, that infrared thermal road repairs, the pothole repairs. So that means that the men can actually work more efficiently. And also, we do use external contracts if it isn't possible for the in-house teams to do the work to make sure that we're able to prioritise what needs to be done when. And we've invested in our staff as well. I mean, recruitment has always been quite difficult, to be honest, because it's much sought after drivers and some of the other key skills that our guys have got. But we have gone some way into recruiting a number of posts through using the modern apprenticeship scheme. That's what I'm trying to say, for some of the posts, so that we can actually bring people on. So there's different aspects to it, but I think most of you hopefully will recognise that in your own areas there has been significant work undertaken. There has been improvement in road condition. We do still obviously have to deal with some areas where we haven't been able to get out to the repair as quickly as we would like. But overall, there has been significant improvement in the road network through this additional investment and through the new technology as well.
Yes. Firstly, apologies, Bill. I wasn't playing with my phone. I was actually putting something into AI, ChatGPT, to get some specifics of what's actually happening. Surrey County Council, using road mapping to a large extent, they've taken it a slightly stage further, which might be phase 2. They're actually using AI to predict road mapping, and they're using AI as well. So there's maybe something to look at.
Technology's changing every day.
Oh, totally.
Definitely what we're gonna. You want to go in for one last final time?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. The working group that we've got is actually looking at what you're talking about, Duncan. It has been recognised by the working group one at the early stages about the different ways that roads operations managers and teams are challenged to work in different areas by making decisions when it comes to a whole load of potholes, which can often be covered by the revenue, as opposed to the same resource that is used to be able to cover the capital spend, and the efficiencies between delivering the capital spend, where you get so many guys managing to deliver a kilometre of tar, as opposed to 1,000 potholes in 400 different locations, is often down to the challenge that we give them as members, because every one of us is wanting a different pothole done in a different area at the same time as a long stretch of road is requiring to be done. And also the approach of, in several areas where a temporary fix is done, because so many of us are wanting so many potholes done, that's the only way that we can get them done, is by temporary fixes. And then we all complain about the fact that that doesn't last a bang. So there's a huge pressure that's put on our workforce teams in terms of delivering expectation of the public. And what this next phase is trying to do is actually standardise some sort of approach that's equal across all the areas, so that we don't have this kind of ad hoc firefighting approach the whole time, like the problem that you were mentioning there just now, Duncan.
Okay, so members, can we agree that all? Thank you all very much. You've got about 2 minutes time between now and when the workshop starts.